Today we'll go over how to create a new vendor in IM3. To do so, we click on IM3, we select Procurement, and then Vendor Info. We'll be prompted with this grid. You can search for existing vendors by using the filter, or you can use advanced search features to search for an existing vendor. But in this case, if we want to create a new vendor, we click on the Add Vendor button. We're going to let the system auto-generate the vendor code, or we can select what we want. We'll let the system auto-generate in this case, indicate the vendor name, indicate what type of vendor it is, if it's a vendor, manufacturer, or both, indicate a vendor corporate vendor code. In this case, you just put something in at this point. Vendor code or corporate vendor, we check that, and if there's an account number available, you put that in there. The currency type that's dealt with this vendor is US currency. Email address. This is the email address that whenever you email this vendor through IM3, this is the email address it will go to. So enter in the appropriate email address here, put in the website if it's necessary, put in notes, put in restocking fees if they're necessary. Terms, you can identify what terms you have with this vendor, net 30, due on receipt, or so on. You can identify the industry, their federal tax ID as needed, and their vendor minority status. And then at this point we can go down to the address and enter in their address. Let's go to the city, indicate what state they're from. If they're not in the US, you can identify that they're in the US or they're in Canada. Put in the zip code, and then you can identify their corporate phone numbers as needed and their fax number as needed. And at this point we can click Save, and we have created a new vendor. The vendor code is this, our corporate vendor code is this. And at this point, if we were to ever do warranty work for this particular vendor or to this vendor, you would want to indicate their customer ID, and this is the ID that would be billed out on the warranty work orders. And you can indicate their handling charges, their extended warranty handling charges, and deductible charges as needed. The PO delivery method is EDI'd as default for every vendor that you create that's new, but you can indicate that you want to email, print, or fax. If you select email, you can put an email address here and indicate what type of format you want to send to the vendor when the PO is approved. So anytime a PO is approved and this is selected as email, it will email the vendor this particular format of the PO. Okay. In this case, I'm going to select EDI, and I don't have to do any of that for right now because I don't need to email the vendor my POs at this point. Once we get past that, we go to vendor contract. We can add new vendor contracts by going to IM3, procurement, and vendor contract. And to create a new vendor contract, we click add contract, and we'll let the system auto-generate that contract number. We'll say that the contract starts today and ends in whatever time period you'd like. Change this to, like, say 25. And then the vendor code that's associated with this contract, which is the one that we just created. So we'll select this vendor and what facilities it applies to. Does it apply to only one facility or all facilities? At this point, all vendor contracts belong to all facilities. Click Save. And at this point, we can add contract lines as individual parts, put in the part number, put in the unit of measure, the conversion factor, the lead days, the minimum quantity, and the costs. And you could continue adding parts to your vendor contract as you get more and more parts for that vendor. Alright, that's it.